Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salat wa salam ala ashraf al-mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi. Wa tabi'ina lahum bi insan illa yawmiddin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin an-nabiyyil ummi wa azwajihi ummahatil mu'minin. وذرياته وآل بيت كما صليت على إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Okay, I'm going to talk to you now. Last time I gave assignment for a sister to print this chart. The chart is about when you join the Salat Late, and you know the Imam has made a certain amount of rak'ats, and then you come and how do you fix this up? Okay, so the reason that comes in the subject of Sujood Sahw, because you know it has some things in common that is part of the lesson plan. The most important thing is that the ruku, when you stand from the ruku, that is the cutoff point of a raka'at. So if the Imam is making the ruku and you come in and you say Allahu Akbar and you go right into the ruku and you enter the ruku at the same time as him, when he stands from the ruku and you stand from the ruku after him, you are considered to have caught that rak'at with the Imam. So when that prayer is finished, whatever you made with him, it starts from that ruku that you caught, that rak'at with the Imam, and whatever came after that, and then you count and see, did you have 4 rak'ats for Zohar or only 3? That means you miss one with the Imam. Okay, did you have 2 rak'ats for Maghrib, or did you have 3? Whatever, you have to count to make sure that you know where you caught with the Imam, what part of the prayer you caught with the Imam, and what part of the prayer you missed with him. So the standing from the ruku is the cutoff point for each rak'at. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Okay, it's really. Go ahead, speak to me.
So just to be clear, so you're saying, is it the cutoff point is after the leader has come up from the ruku?
Yes. In this case, there's only a few cases where going into ruku would nullify that rak'at. But we're not talking about those. I don't want you to get confused. We're talking about when you come and join the prayer, and you come and you see the Imam has already started the prayer. And you want to know how much you gonna miss and how much you have to make after the Imam gives salams. So for each rak'at, it's standing from the ruku of the Imam. Whenever he stands from the ruku, that means that if you wasn't making the ruku with him, if you came anytime after that and he stood up, you missed that rak'at. You understand?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Now, this sounds like really like like everybody should know. It's not as easy as you think. Everybody does not know. A lot of times, the people, they don't know the lesson because after the prayer is over, sometimes somebody that came in after you, they standing next to you, and when the Imam leaves, when he makes his salams and he leaves, they leave too. That means that they miss some part of the prayer. They missed it, Or after he makes his and gives salams and they stand up, but when they stand up to make what they missed, a lot of times they don't make the right amount, or they make it so fast that that they're not doing it properly. It's a lot of different things. So that's what this lesson is about. So I'm going to do my best to explain this lesson. Actually, can she see that?
I sent it to her.
Oh, you sent it to her. Okay. Do you have that chart with you?
Sister Singer?
Yes, it's in front of me right now, yes.
Okay. Because it makes it easier if you can see what I'm doing. Okay, alhamdulillah. All right, so.
Zainab, she has hers.
Zainab, you have it? It should be on page 3 of this. I don't know if you have the same
I sent
paper.
her the email this morning.
Oh, it's okay. She said she sent you an email this morning, Zay?
Yeah, inshallah.
You feel okay?
I'm just congested.
Yeah, you don't sound like your normal self. All right, that's my daughter. Okay, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. Okay, so I'm gonna try to explain it to you now best as I can from the distance. Okay, so now you know that the cutoff point for each rakat that you come late with the Imam is the ruku. If you join after the ruku of the first rakat, then you have missed the first rakat. If you join after the ruku of the second rakat, then you have missed the first and the second rakat. If you come after the ruku of the third rakat, then you have missed the first, the second, and the third rakat. Like that. Okay? Now, when they say miss the ruku, they mean that he has said Subhana Rabbil Azim, bending over, making ruku, and then he say Sami Allahu liman hamida. When his back became restrained and you weren't a part of that at that time, you have missed that rakat. That's called standing from ruku. Okay. So when that happens and the Imam makes the salams, the people who have missed some rakat or something from when the Imam was praying, if they have missed a rakat with him, then they don't make salams. They keep their head still. After the other people say salams, or at least they say the salams to the right side, which according to Imam Malik is fard. In other words, sometimes you see when the Imam say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and then he says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Well, in the Madhab Imam Malik, when you're going to stand up and make what you miss, as soon as he says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, or if he only practice in Imam Malik's Madhab, he say Assalamu alaikum, the people will stand up immediately that have missed something behind the Imam, and they will start to make up what they missed. Now, in other madhabs, they say Assalamu, the Imam says Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah to the right side. Then he says Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah to the left side. Once he has said it to the right side, you have the right to stand up and start to fix what you have missed with the Imam. You don't have to wait till all the people will say salams. No, that has nothing to do with it. Once he says Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, you have the right to stand up and to start to fix what you have missed from the Imam. Now, when you stand up to make what you have missed, you're going to make it as you've missed it. Now this is the part of the subject that is a little bit needs explanation. When you stand up from what you have missed, you have to think in terms of what rakat did you miss and what does it include. If it's the first or second rakat, it will include Al-Fatiha, Sura after Al-Fatiha, and if it's the second rakat, it will have a tashahhud. For sure, when you stand up and you've missed the first or the second rakat, you're going to have to recite a Fatiha and a Surah. So at this time, it's going to come to these things. And I'm going to try and give you some type of visual description as well as a verbal description. Let us say you look at that chart. On that chart where it says prayer, it says, oh, I have it here. Can you see it? It says prayer on the top. Then it says join after the ruku of. Then it says say with the imam, like that, going across. All right. The first one is the prayer of Subh. Subh has 2 raka'at. Subh means the prayer in the morning that many people call it Fajr. But the technical name for it in Al-Islam is called Subh. And it means those 2 raka'at that are fard in the morning prayer. So it says, you join after the ruku of the first raka'at, which means you say with the imam the second raka'at. You will say after salams the 1 raka'at that you missed with the imam. So you will have a surah in the second raka'at that you're going to say with the imam. And then you're going to have the surah in the first raka'at that you're saying by yourself, except that now it's in reverse. Your last raka'at that you say is going to be by yourself instead of saying it with the imam. So in this case, you're going to have 2 tashahuds in this prayer, even though it only has 2 rakats, because you're going to say a tashahud in the second rakat with the imam, because that's the one you're going to catch with him. His second rakat is your first rakat. It's his last rakat, but it's going to be considered as your first rakat because you came after the ruku. Oh, look at the baby. Subhanallah. Because you came after the ruku of the first rakat. So that don't count for you. His second rakat is like your first rakat. And in his second rakat, because it's his last rakat, he's going to make a tashahud. Right? So you're going to have the ability to make a tashahud with him in that second rakat. And then after he makes salams, you're going to stand up. You're going to make a whole rakat by yourself with the Fatiha, Surah, and you're going to have another tashahud because you need this other tashahud to close out your prayer. So in this case, you're going to have 2 tashahuds. The reason they're doing it like this is so that it explains to you, you get like the system of fixing this prayer after you leave from the imam. It's going to always remain the same. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. Zohar prayer. Of course, Zohar prayer and Asr prayer are going to be the same exact because they have the same amount of rakats. Okay. So, let's say you join after the ruku of the first rakat for Zohar. It means you missed, already you missed 1 rakat because he stood after, the imam stood from the ruku. Right, he says, Sami Allahu liman hamida. So, you're going to say with the imam the second rakat, the third rakat, and the 4th rakat. So you're going to say, after the imam leaves, when he makes salams, you're going to say 1 rakat that you missed. Now this rakat, your last rakat, is going to be treated as if it was the first rakat because you're going to make up your rakat the same way you missed it with the imam. As long as you keep that in mind, you never will go wrong. You have to think in terms of what did he do before I came? That's what you're going to have to do when he leaves. Okay. So in this case, you're going to have a surah in that second rak'at that you make with the imam. His surah is going to count for you too. So that's why they say you're going to have a surah in that rak'at. Then, in your last rak'at, you're going to stand up. After you stand up to make up what you missed, that is your first rak'at. That's your last rak'at now would have been your first rak'at. You're going to make a Fatiha and a surah. Fatiha and a surah. Because that's what you would have missed when you missed that first rak'at with the imam. So you're going to make what you missed at the end. Okay? Y'all have any questions you want to ask me? Okay. So you're going to have tashahhud in the second rak'at that you made with the imam. You're going to have it in your fourth rak'at that you made
By yourself.
with the imam.
That's right.
With the imam. Because you caught the second, the third, and the fourth rak'at with the imam. And then when you stand up by yourself,
You have a tashahhud.
you're going to have another tashahhud to close out your prayer. So this prayer is going to have 3 tashahhud. The one you catch with the imam in the second rak'at, the one you catch with the imam in the fourth rak'at, and the one you make by yourself after the imam has made salams to close out your prayer in your last rak'at. That is the first, that rak'at that you missed. Okay? So this one is called the Salat with wings. The Salat with wings. Okay. Now you're starting to get the idea on how he's okay. On how this is fixed. Right? Okay. We're going to go to another example. Let us say you join after the ruku of the second rak'at. That means you missed 2 rak'ats with the imam. You're going to catch with him the third rak'at and the fourth rak'at. Okay? You're going to say after salams, the first rak'at that you miss and the second rak'at that you miss. You're going to have a surah in those 2 rak'ats that you missed at the end of your prayer. What would have been your first and second rak'at are now going to be at the end of your prayer. And you're going to say a surah in each one of those. This is how you know that when the people are making up their prayer, they're not doing it properly, because they're not making the surah in its places where it belongs. They most of the time they haven't been educated in this subject, so they're trying to find a way to do it properly. It's not like intentionally done. It's just that they don't know. So hopefully these classes, people will see it online, and they will learn, how to do it better. And then, we will have fulfilled our duty to the people. You see? Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallah Muhammad. Okay. So that person will have a tashahhud in the fourth rak'at with the imam, and in his second rak'at that he does by himself. You understand? Okay. So this prayer is called the upside down prayer, because everything is the opposite of where it normally would be. If you're following me this far, I think that you have this lesson in your mind good. You're becoming proficient with this lesson after only a few examples. Alhamdulillah. The brothers, I had to explain this like a lot of times. That's not saying too much, but inshallah, if you're hearing me and understanding this part, I feel very secure that you have already of following this way, of fixing your prayer after you leave from the Imam. So I'm going to go now to the next example. It says you join after the ruku of the third rakat. So you're only going to say the fourth rakat with the Imam. So you're going to say after Salams of the Imam, the first, the second, and the third rakats. You're going to have a surah in your, on the end of your prayer, the first and the second rakat. Right? Okay. You're going to have a tashahhud in that fourth rakat that you caught with the Imam. With the Imam. You're going to have a tashahhud in...
Then my first is really the second.
That's right.
And then I have a tashahhud in the
third to close the... So you got three of them. You got it. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So this one is called the pregnant salah, because everything is happening in the middle. Okay, you understand? That's very good. Alhamdulillah. You want to ask me? Can you turn the sound up any? I can't. Okay, wait. I'm gonna have my wife sit a little closer to the screen because I can't really hear you. She's gonna tell me exactly what you're saying. Okay, go ahead. What's she saying?
All right. She's talking about coming into the third rakat. She wants to know, when we make their tashahhud, is it because the tashahhud is done in an even number after every two rakats? She wants to understand the principle.
Oh, well, I don't think it's exactly like that. Maybe you can say it like that, maybe. But it's more that what you miss, you have to make up. So, let's say, Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. When the Imam's fourth rakat that she's talking about this last example.
Yes.
This Imam's, when we catch the fourth rakat with that Imam, for us that's like our first rakat. We even though we got to make three other rakats after that. But that one, even it's his last one, but it's like our first one. So, in spite of the fact that you made a tashahhud with him on his last one, that's like pretty much, we do it because if you're sitting and he's making a tashahhud, you don't lose the benefit of making a tashahhud, even though, it's not the end of your prayer. You still have the benefit of getting the reward of making a tashahhud with him. But then when you stand by yourself, that is like representative of your second rakat. So when you do your second rakat, again you're going to have a tashahhud. The one you made with the Imam, that don't really count except that you're sitting there and Allah give you the benefit of making a tashahhud because you're sitting there. But it doesn't really count as if it's a part of your prayer that would eliminate you from making another tashahhud in what would be your second rakat. So, if you want to put it in that language you're using, you can say, yeah, maybe it's like that every second rakat, or every second rakat, you're going to have a tashahhud. Kind of like that. But it's more...
Okay, because I'm still looking at the chart again. like, that's what it's meaning, like.
Okay, so it's more that you're gonna make what you miss. Because let's say, okay, now after you make that, what is your second rak'at, that actually you're making this one by yourself, the Imam has made his salams, you made a tashahhud with the Imam because you were sitting. You caught that fourth rak'at with him. But then when you stand, this rak'at you're making now, that's actually your second rak'at. So you only have two more to do after that one. So the one that comes after that, your third rak'at, okay, you don't make a tashahhud in that one. When you stand up after that one, you're going to have a tashahhud in the last rak'at to close the prayer. So yeah, I guess if you put it the way you're saying, every second rak'at, you're going to have a tashahhud. You can put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
But we understand that. Let's say we're going to do Maghrib now. Maghrib don't have but 3 rak'ats. So something has to change because it won't be every second rak'at. It's going to be the last one that you missed, or the last 2. So let me explain. Let us say we're doing Maghrib now. We join after the ruku of the first rak'at. That means we're going to say with the Imam the second and the third. Okay? We're going to say after Salams 1 by ourselves that we have missed with the Imam. We're going to have a Surah, and that one that we missed with the Imam, and we're going to have a Surah. We're going to have a Surah in the one that we made with the Imam, and we're going to have a Surah in the one that we missed with the Imam. The one that we missed with the Imam is going to come when we're making it by ourselves. We're going to have a tashahhud in the second rak'at that we catch with the Imam. We're going to have a tashahhud in the third rak'at that we catch with the Imam, because he's going to be ending his prayer in the third rak'at. Then we're going to have a tashahhud in the first rak'at, that the one that we will be missed because we have to close out the prayer. So in fact, we're going to have 3 tashahhud in Maghrib. When Maghrib only has 2 generally. Maghrib only has 3 rak'ats. So in this case, we're going to have, that's probably from the grandkids. In this case, we're going to have a rak'at in each, a tashahhud in each rak'at.
In each salat.
See? But that's only because we have to make what you miss. You have to make what you miss when you leave off from the Imam. In this case, we're going to have the second rak'at with the Imam. In his second rak'at, he makes a tashahhud, like we normally would do. His third rak'at is the end of his prayer. He's going to have another tashahhud that we normally would do. So we're going to make that with him, because that's what we normally would do. But when we leave him, in order to close our prayer, we're going to have another tashahhud when we close our prayer. So that would give us 3 tashahhuds for this particular prayer of Maghrib. Okay? Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu. Okay. I think you're getting it. Let's say in Maghrib, we miss the first 2 rak'ats with the Imam. We join after the ruku of the second rak'at. We say with the Imam only the third rak'at. We say after Salam, the first rak'at and the second rak'at that we miss. We're going to have a surah in those rak'ats, the first rak'at and the second rak'at that we miss. We're going to be saying those after we leave off from the Imam on our own. Then we're going to have a tashahhud. We're going to have a tashahhud in the third rak'at that we have. And that first rak'at we make by ourselves without the imam. That would be considered as our second rak'at. And then we're going to have a tashahhud in the third rak'at because we have to close out the prayer. So in this case we have a tashahhud in 3 rak'ats. Okay? If you understand that much, you have mastered. I think she lost the Skype, Sharon. So if you understand that much, that means that basically you have mastered what you do when you leave from the imam. So again, this one is called the upside down prayer because you got this, all of the stuff is happening on the other end after you leave from the imam. You're only doing a small amount with him, and the major part of the prayer you're doing by yourself. So it's called the upside down prayer because you're reciting the 2 surahs at the end of your prayer instead of in the beginning of your prayer like you normally would do. Okay, I think you got this part. Okay, so that's what I want. That was my main thought for you today, was to make sure that you understood that chart. Now, if anybody needs me to explain it more, you tell me. But I get the impression that you ladies actually have got that chart. Zainab, you okay with this?
I'm good, Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Oh, your voice sounds so clear today. Maybe the phone is. I got a new phone here, so you're coming through much clearer. Alhamdulillah, yeah. I think that's what it is. Okay. Now, I want to give you. I was telling you about the definitions. Was I telling you about the definitions?
No, you said you would start the definitions this week.
Okay, definitions. Doubt is the first one they're talking about. This is in your prayer. Mainly they're talking about in your prayer. Doubt is when you have 2 ideas. One that you did something, and the other one is that you did not do it, and they're both equal. This is called doubt. It's like you won't know which way to go because you just don't know where you are. You have no signal or nothing to point you in the right direction. And you're somewhat confused because, you doubt whether you did this or you doubt whether you didn't do it. So you don't really know. This is called doubt. The reason that the fiqh breaks it down like this is because it's going to teach you what to do with doubt. How to deal with your prayer when you have doubt. But first it have to give you some idea on what is considered as doubt. And they say doubt is when you have 2 ideas that are equal. One that you did something and one that you didn't do it. This is called doubt. The second thing is your computer keeping this information? Like just now I was explaining something called doubt. Oh, you can still hear me? Oh, alhamdulillah. That's good. Okay. So then if you have another idea, if one idea is stronger than the other, the idea that is stronger by the technical talk of the fiqh, the idea that is stronger, you think the thing that is stronger. If you have an idea that is stronger than the other, the strongest one is the one that you're thinking. And you imagine the other one. The other one is the weaker one is called imagination. We're gonna ignore imagination. When you got an idea that is stronger, and the stronger idea is considered as thinking, nothing else is gonna matter technically how you fix your prayer after you have that strong idea that is considered as thinking. Okay, example. Aloud Salam wa Salam Barakallah Muhammad. You in the second raka'at of Maghrib, and you getting ready to make ruku, and the shaitan, a'udhu billahi, he comes, he start whispering. Just when you get ready to make ruku, he's going to say, I don't think you made the Surah after Al-Fatiha. So if you make ruku, you're not going to be able to fix that Surah. It's going to be gone. You're going to have to make Sujood Sahw before Salams. But suppose you make Sujood Sahw before Salams and you didn't have to, then you may be losing your prayer. This is his game that he played. So if you listen to your lesson and you say, oh, okay, but I remember saying the surah that I normally say at this time of day. Immediately you knocked out
The doubt.
his talk to you.
Imagination.
Then now it becomes imagination, because you got an idea that makes you think strongly that I did it. So you can say, I'm ignoring that. That's imagination now. Because you have something to point in the direction that you did do it. That thing, that strong thought, is what eliminates imagination. So already you realize that whenever you got a strong thought in your mind that you did do something, you can ignore the shaitan, a'udhu billahi. Okay? This lesson is of such importance, because all the people, so many people come to me, they always worried about, I can't concentrate in my prayer. And I'm thinking I'm doing this, and I'm not sure if I'm doing that. So I have to teach them this lesson. When you know or have some strong idea, because you do the same thing all the time in your prayer, you say, well, it takes me this amount of time. I can feel that it takes me this amount of time to do this particular thing in my prayer, and I have spent that amount of time already. I'm sure that I did. That eliminates the doubt. See, you don't have to remember exactly the words you use, but you have to have something that points in the direction that says, I did it. Once you have that, that's strong enough that you can say, that other thing is imagination. That's the shaitan, a'udhu billahi. You can leave that thought alone. Don't worry about it anymore. Even if you're wrong, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't take the prayer away from you, because you're following the rules of the jurisprudence. So look, the only other thing is that, I'm going to explain this later though. You're always going to, when you ignore the shaitan, a'udhu billahi, you're going to sometimes have to make Sujood Sahw after Salams, in case that when you ignored him, you had already done something. See? And you know, if you repeat it again, you'll be adding something to your prayer. And that's another, I'll teach you about that. But for right now, in the definition, you think something when you have some kind of an idea that makes you know that, yeah, I did that already. When that happens, the other thing in your mind is considered as imagination. You can just put that on the side. You don't have to worry about that anymore. That will help you to keep your prayer stronger and to feel more satisfied that you have accomplished your prayer properly. You see? The shaitan, a'udhu billahi, he wants you to not feel comfortable and not to feel that you have your prayer done correctly. So he'll keep whispering to you. But what happens is, when you follow the rules and you understand your subject, and you follow the rules, he's going to eventually get tired of dealing with you like that, because he will be helping you to keep your prayer sufficient and get the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if he whispering to you, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and then you're following the fiqh and you're saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to me, he taught Sheikh Ameen to tell us that when shaitan a'udhu billahi is whispering to me, and I have some strong idea that I did something, I and the stronger thing that's thinking something, and that's what I'm bound by. When that happens, the shaitan, he'll realize that person knows their lessons, they're following the direction. So when they go against what I'm saying, they're getting the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's going to get tired of helping you get that reward, and he's going to less and less come to you and bother you in your prayer. That's the whole point of this lesson. It helps you to safeguard your prayer from him. Because once he know you know what you're doing, it's not that much he can do to you. So when you got your subject, no matter what part of the prayer you're in, and you understand the subject, you're going to say, what are the rules to this particular thing? As soon as you can apply that, you don't have to worry about him anymore, because you followed the direction and the formula of the rules, and that's all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects from you. He don't expect you to be a machine, but he wants you to understand your rules and follow them to the best of your ability, and you keep your prayer that way. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Okay. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. Now, let's say you have 3 ideas. Then it's neither doubt nor is it a case of thinking, but all of it is imagination. Ignore it all. Do what you think is right. If you have 3 ideas, right? You gotta make in your mind, you gotta make up your mind to say, oh, that shaitan, he's making me imagine all this stuff. He's trying to make me imagine all this stuff. So I'm gonna follow the rule. The rule is that when there's 3 of those ideas, I don't know where I'm at, there's 3 ideas, I'm all confused. I gotta set my mind right. So I'm gonna say, I'm going to take less in my prayer and add to it like this. I'll give you an example. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. Let's say that the shaitan, he come to you, you have just stood up from your second raka'at. Right? You just stood up from doing your second raka'at, making a touch with everything. Shaitan, he gonna come to you when you stood up for the start, the third raka'at. He gonna say, what raka'at are you in? Do you have to make a Fatiha and Surah? Because you're only in the second raka'at. And then when you sit down, you're gonna have to make a tashahhud because you're still in the second raka'at. Or are you in the third raka'at? And if you do the things of the second raka'at, you may lose your prayer because you put things where it don't belong. This is how he confuses people. You see? So when you have all of that stuff, you're going to say, oh, that shaitan always be like, I got it. What I'm going to do is, first I'm going to look and see how many times today did he come to me with this stuff. Because the rule says, if he comes to you once a day or more, all the time, once a day or more, that's coming from shaitan, you should ignore it. The rule tells you, if he comes to you once a day or more, in any prayer, once a day or more, strongly like this to try to confuse you, you have to say, this is the working of shaitan, I will ignore it. That's the rule. Now, let's say this type of thought only comes occasionally. Like let's say you didn't have it for the last 2 days, and now you're making a Maghrib or whatever prayer, and this thought comes to you strongly. You have to follow it now. Because the rule is that if it comes occasionally, you have to consider it as something warranted for you to have to react to it. You have to react to it. You have to be able to do something about it because it's only occasionally. So it's highly possible and highly probable that this is something that has to be fixed. Whereas if it comes all the time, it's the shaitan, a'udhu billahi. He's constantly trying to instill in your mind and confuse you. So the fiqh says, ignore it when it comes at least once a day or more. You understand the two different things? Okay. So, when we come to time to fix this, I'm jumping ahead for you. When it comes time to fix this, this is what you're doing. In your prayer, you got to evaluate. But you know, you're going to do it like quickly. You know, I'm talking slowly, but your mind is going to work quicker. So you're going to say, okay, this thing, first two things. Does it come all the time? Or is this a time that, you know, out of the norm? If it's a time out of the norm, you're going to say, I'm going to follow this thought. I'm going to follow this thought. I'm going to believe that I made this mistake and fix it. And then make Sujood Sahw after Salams in case I didn't make the mistake. And I fixed it without necessity.
But the fixing will only be if it's a part that needs to be fixed or two.
Well, it depends on what it is. Look, like, no, let's say, oh yeah, okay, you can put it like that. Let's say that, you know, the idea comes to you that you didn't make a tashahhud. And you're still sitting in the position where you normally would make a tashahhud.
Then I can make it.
Then you make it. Okay, now I'm going to give you a better example. Let's say that you're standing for the third raka'at of Maghrib. And you don't realize, you say, maybe I'm in the second raka'at. I'm not sure. If this thing only came to you today, but it don't hardly come other times, you have to follow it. You have to say, okay, I'm in the second raka'at. Then you make everything of the second raka'at. Then you make the third raka'at or the fourth, whichever prayer you're making. And then after the prayer, after that salam, you make Sujood Sahw. Because it's possible that you were already in the right place. So in order to just for the proper continuity of the prayers, you're going to say, well, to cover my own back and to be polite with the prayer, I'm going to make Sujood Sahw after Salams, because I may have added something when I followed the direction. But following the direction is what you had to do. You understand me? Because this idea only comes occasionally. When it comes occasionally, the rule says you follow the idea. Now, let's take it to the other one. When the Alaikum Salam Tullah. Yes, dear.
So is this the case when you believe that you may have added and also have omitted, not at the same time, but either or? Would you make Sujood Sahw accordingly before or after?
Yes, absolutely. So let's say, yes, let's say you're in a case where you had to follow this idea. And in that case, when you follow this idea, you also realize that you may have added and subtracted something. You understand? Because following the idea doesn't always mean that you following is going to add. Sometimes you may have added and subtracted. If the case of adding and subtraction, then you're going to make Sujood Sahw before Salams. If it's just a case of adding, you're going to make Sujood Sahw after Salams. So yes, that's a great question, because sometimes when this thought comes, and it only comes occasionally, you know you have to follow it and fix it. So in the process of fixing it, some things you may not be able to fix, like if it's a Sura or if it's a tashahhud or something like that. That's going to be something omitted from the prayer. It won't make you lose the prayer. It won't, listen to me, it won't make you lose the prayer, but the proper etiquette of the prayer is that when you omit something that's a sunnah, you must make Sujood Sahw before Salams. Also, if you add something and you omit something, you must make Sujood Sahw before Salams. So yes, that's proper. when you figure it out where you are and what you have to do, you also have to that I also in most cases is only going to be adding. But that's a good question. Okay, you all right with that?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so now let's take the other case. The other case is Shaitan, he's coming to you all the time. The fiqh tells you when he's coming to you all the time like that, at least once a day or more every day, you have to ignore him completely. Just ignore him. Go on and make your prayer. Do all the stuff that you normally do, and just don't even worry about it. Just ignore him. You see, because his approach to you is that he wants to confuse you. So once he realizes that you're ignoring him, he's gonna be less apt to keep coming and bothering you, because he's at this point he's helping you to follow the direction, and he don't want to help you. He wants to hurt you. This is his duty. His duty is to go against everything that's positive and to try to make you lose your ground with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this case, you're still going to say, I'm going to ignore him. When he says, did you already make 3 rakats for Maghrib? Are you making an extra rakat? You can say, I made 3 rakats. That's it. I'm ignoring him. And you go on about your business. If he says, Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. If he says something like, you made 4 rakats. You made 4 rakats for Maghrib. You can say, oh, okay, maybe I did make 4 rakats for Maghrib, so I'm just going to make Sujood Sahw after Salams, and I'm going to leave it. But if it's a matter of you think you already made 3, and he's trying to tell you got to make another one, don't make it. Because if the idea comes all the time, just ignore him. That's the 2 main rules. If it comes occasionally, you have to follow it. If it only comes occasionally, you have to fix it. It's more than likely it's actually happening. It's true. But if it comes all the time, he's always in your head trying to confuse you, ignore him. Like the Sheikh used to say, it's like somebody comes to your door. They knock on the door. You go to the door, you see who it is, you say, oh, it's Shaitan. You go away from the door, don't answer. I'm not answering him. He'll go away. But he'll come back again quickly. He'll try again, same day, try again. You look and say, I'm not answering him. He'll go away. Then he may come the next day or a couple of days later. You don't answer him. Well, it's the same thing with this prayer. If after a while, he's going to stop bothering you. If he keeps coming so much that you start ignoring him, he's going to stop bothering you as much, because he knows you're not going to answer. Okay, I'm satisfied. I gave you a good lesson on that.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
It's almost time.
You want to ask me anything else? Yes. I can't hear you. Sharon, tell me what she says. I don't know why, but you can hear me easier than I can hear you.
My volume is not that great.
You're in Maghrib, and then you get a doubt that maybe you're in the fourth rakat, like maybe you make 4 rakat. You're saying then this is to make the sujood, the 2 rakats after Salam.
Yes.
And your salat, right? Okay. Is that because it wouldn't hurt your salat?
If you would it hurt your salat if what? What'd she say?
Is that because she said? Is that because it wouldn't hurt your salat by making the sujood?
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Because Sujood Sahw after Salams, you're not going to lose nothing. It's not going to do anything to make you lose anything about your prayer. It's only when you do something inside of the salams that actually counts as a part of the prayer itself. Sujood Sahw after salams, even if it's not needed, it doesn't matter.
It's just a courtesy.
It's a courtesy of the prayer. But if you do something, if you do Sujood Sahw inside the prayer where it doesn't belong, that means you have added something to the prayer. So you have to be very careful about, the sujood, because that is inside the salams. So everything from the first takbir to the last salam is considered as a part of inside the prayer. All of those things we have to be careful with.
So is it basically, if it were, let's say, if it were that you were in your third rakat, right, and then you get a doubt that maybe you're in your second rakat, then you should be a little bit more discerning about whether or not that's shaitan?
Yes. So, look, say you're in your second rakat, right? And then the shaitan, he starts whispering. You have to, the first thing you have to do is apply the formula that I told you. You got to say, does this come all the time? Is he just, this is him again? Or do you have to say to yourself, this doesn't happen to me often. Probably I'm in the second rakat and I still got to make the third. You follow what I said? So the whole idea is to know whether you get this same thing consistently all the time, which means you won't listen, or if it only comes occasionally, which means that you must listen. Okay. Does that answer you?
Yes, definitely.
Alhamdulillah. You want more? I'll listen. Okay, alhamdulillah. Zay, you want more?
No, I'm good, alhamdulillah.
Okay. So now, let me tell y'all something. Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallah Shaykh Muhammad. Today, when I was teaching my classes in the mosque, and we're in a very big space inside the Islamic Cultural Center, and a lot of foreigners, I know the atmosphere of this mosque. So whenever there's some strangers that come in, we know, something is different, So they were like, when I walked in, they were like a lot of different people in the mosque. And they were, you can look at them, you can see they're all foreigners, probably from like Pakistan or Bangladesh. And I thought it was a wedding because, the way the people were dressed, and, they were like talking like a lot in the mosque, and they were all over the place and everything. And so I said, well, I was teaching my class, so initially I told her, says, go and ask them to be quiet, So the brothers went, told them to be quiet. The baby. And so then, Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallah Muhammad. And then, one of the brothers from the mosque who works in the mosque came to me, Sheikh, we're very sorry. These people came for a funeral, for a janazah, and they have bad manners in the mosque. And I'm looking at them, and these are people that, you can tell they grew up in an Islamic, so-called Islamic atmosphere. The women had on little short skirts. They had the fashion of the European women with the boots, with the short skirt and the tights underneath, and no headpiece on. And this headpiece was wrapped around their shoulder, thrown back over their shoulder, and this kind of stuff. And then the ones who did have a headpiece on, they went into the side of the they were out in the middle of the mosque having conversations with the brothers, and oh man, and it was a lot of them. And so the students, they kept trying to shush them and everything. So eventually, I had to explain to them something, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he taught us everything we have to know about how to deal with situations. And in spite of the fact that they were rude and didn't practice good etiquettes of the mosque, it didn't mean that we had to respond to them in like form. Because, you know, there was a time in which the Prophet ﷺ, he saw an Arab peeing. For most of the time, those people that come here, they didn't come here for no Islamic stuff. First of all, they came here to escape the Islamic stuff. You see? So they'll say that they're Muslims because of the country they came from. But I teach the Muslims all the time, that's not enough. You only considered a Muslim by your practices, not by what you say from your mouth. So these people gave the worst example that I have ever seen of people that came to this country from a so-called Islamic country, and we can't expect to get any usefulness out of them for building Islam in America, unless they want to give us some money. That's the only thing that, and I can almost guarantee you, they're not going to want to give us no money, because they're going to keep their money within themselves. So my talk to the Muslims at this time was, build your own. Stop relying on these people. They have bad Islamic understanding, bad Islamic etiquette, and we can't depend on them. The only reason that they're treating, okay, even when I was sending people to tell them to behave, they were kind of like looking at the people that was talking to them and kind of ignoring them. Why? Because the American, especially the African Americans in this country, never build anything. They don't do anything. So they don't have nothing to point to and say, oh, that's what the Muslims did here. You understand me? So they're going to always have disrespect for us until we do something on our own. We have to build our own. Another, for instance, they gave a khutbah. The khutbah was about the nursing home in America. How the nursing homes in America are bad places where you put your people in these nursing homes and they're not well taken care of. Which is, we all know that's true. We all know it. All the American Muslims know that the nursing homes are like a kind of a bad place to put your people that you love. Unless you're gonna go there every single day and spend your whole day there trying to help your loved one. You know, if you're leaving it to the administration of the nursing home, hey, it depending on what kind of condition that your loved one is in, if they can't help themselves, they got a problem. Okay, so Muslim brother, he found out another Muslim brother who was paralyzed that used to pray with us was in a nursing home in Brooklyn. So he started bringing the brother every Friday. He'd go to get him and bring him back to Manhattan for Juma. But in the process, the brother who was paralyzed in the nursing home was telling him how difficult it is being in this place, and how when he has to, because he's paralyzed, he needs help to do everything, and when he have to go to the bathroom and these different things, and he's asking for somebody to come, he says hours pass before anybody comes to help him. And then when they come to help him and they put him in the bathroom, they just leave him there. He says he's ringing for somebody to come to take him from the bathroom. Hours go past, nobody comes to get him out. So he says that they made an agreement with some Muslims that they would take turns 24 hours around the clock. Somebody would stay in the room with him.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
And then when his tour was over, somebody else would come. And so he had 24-hour Muslims around the clock servicing him until he got out of the nursing home. But listen to me. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, good deed.
We need to build our own.
But we need to build our own so that whoever goes into that nursing home,
doesn't matter. It
don't matter who it is. We know that they're going to get proper care because we're Muslims going to take care of these things. You understand? So, and then we don't just need one. We need a lot of them. So a brother said, well, Sheikh, how do we get these things accomplished?
Put our monies together.
He said, how do we get this accomplished? Because, the Imams, many times, the Imams, they're all good. They're good guys. They mean well, believe me. I know most of them. They really, you know, they're struggling to do what they think is the best thing to do on the behalf of the Muslims. But what happens is they're not always technically sound on accomplishing certain things. It's like they can tell you what the Quran says, they can tell you the hadiths about certain subjects and things like that. But what we need to start doing is using the professional Muslims in our midst. It's not like it used to be. Now we have professional Muslims in all fields. So you know, we have to start utilizing that. What the imams can do is, you know, they can start like saying words from the pulpit, you know, that, you know, we need to get this done, we need to get that done. But it becomes the endeavor of the, okay, in sociology, there's like the person who's the elected official, and then there's the community leader. The community leader is the person that he's not, you know, he don't have no official title or nothing like that. But all the people trust the community leader because he got a history or she got a history of, you know, helping, like, you know, what's needed and not asking for no kind of return on her investment or his investment. And so, you know, after a period of time, the community leader is actually the voice of the people. It's not the imam. The imam, you know, he can tell you a whole bunch of stuff about Islam and stuff, but, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, actually getting something done, it's not the imam. He's just a voice for the people. He's not, you know, he's not like, you know, the one who actually gets them to do stuff. So, what the imam have to do is, he have to try to stay in contact with these people who are in the community leaders. And then he give them the assignment. He can say, look, guys, we need to get this done. Get the people to help to understand that we need this done. And then the community leader people, they start to help, you know, with fundraising and getting people to go over here and find out about that, do the research on this, get me some professional people who know about that. But most of all, they have to safeguard the Muslims' money, because we've had these projects happen before. And when these projects have happened in the past, the money has come up missing. Everybody who's been around here for more than 40 years or so, they know about these instances in time when the Muslims have invested money and then, you know, the money came up missing. So they, you know, a lot of times point back to that history and say, this is why, you know, we're not going to do anything because of that. Okay, we can't get stuck back there. History is only good for showing us the mistake, and so that we don't make the same mistake again. See, times have changed. So we know better how to safeguard the Muslims' money. We know better how to get things done. You know, so, you know, that's not an excuse anymore. We have to go forward. So anyway, that's the talk I gave to them. And I'm telling you the same thing, that, you know, only people who, like, let's say the imam. The imam maybe come from Ghana. He come from Ghana, and his Islamic understanding is also his culture. His culture. So, you know, in his culture, they have already built in ways to help take care of the old people. So the people who come from Ghana, they're not going to have that same feeling of necessity that the people in America who don't have that system built in. We don't have that system. That's not a part of our culture. See, you look over there at your grandmother or your mother who's sick, or your father who's sick and aging or something like that, and the only thing you're thinking about is, what am I going to do? You can't anticipate the rest of the people in the area helping you. That just don't happen here. So we have to, see, for us, this is a necessity. For the imam, it may not be a necessity, because he has built in with his culture that, you know, they got a way to take care of these old people. We don't have that built in. We need to do that. Okay, so that's what I want to tell you. All right? And so, inshallah, you know, I kind of abbreviated this talk because I gave them a long talk in the mosque, a lot much longer, because they asked a lot of different questions about how to do certain things. But I think that, you know, women are probably the biggest asset to Islam in this part of the world. It's not the men who accomplish these things. It's always been in history In this part of the world, it's been the women that get these things accomplished more so than the men. They spearhead stuff, because they look at things, worldly type things, and they really see the necessity of it get done. Getting other sisters together and making it a project, and they go and yell at the imam, whatever they got to do, they get it done. And I always say that, to me, the heroes in America are not the brothers, it's the women. See, and I honestly feel, because my teacher was like that too. He used to say that the women, the American Muslim women, are like the heroes of Islam. They're like the ones that's in jihad all the time, because they're not hiding. When you see them outside, you can spot them coming a mile away with their hijab. See, with the brothers, you can't spot them unless they dress like me. I don't even dress like this all the time. When I go to work and different things like that, I don't dress like this. So people, they don't know me unless I tell them. But you ladies, you can't hide. They see you coming a mile away. And I think that you are like heroes in Islam, because you standing up, you giving dawah every time you walk in the street. You'd be surprised, somebody saying, wow, look at that Muslim sister. I wonder what they're talking about. I wonder what they're about. You're giving dawah, you see, every time, more than you think. And so, Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. I look forward to talking to you about these type of things in the future. And if you have some ideas, I want to hear what you have to say. And I will do my best to help to push your ideas and to give you any type of assistance that I can give, because these things have to get done. If the brothers don't do it, see, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us orders, He don't give orders and say that's only for the men. He give us orders. It's like the women have to do some things too. They're going to be asked about some things too, what's in their ability. You'd be surprised in this country right here, especially, you got more educated women than men.
You do.
You got more capable women than men. You got a lot of women that, if they just leave them alone, they can get a lot more done. See? Anyway, you understand me. I'm sure you understand me. Well, African brother pulled me to the side. He said, Sheikh Ameen. Sheikh Ameen, we want you to talk. We want you to talk to these foreign people that's in the mosque today. I said, well, what can I do? I'm like, he's the imam. I don't care. I can't talk over the imam. They say, we don't care because you understand this place. He don't understand. He's a good guy and everything, but so I'm saying that to you. I'm saying that the Muslims, the brothers, they think they understand, but they don't really understand. Their minds are like